All rise for the jury. You may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome back to courtroom 4B. Okay, at this time, we will continue with the state's presentation of its evidence. You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state will call Anderson.
Good morning. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer unto God under the pains and penalties of perjury? Yes, sir. Okay, you may be seated. All right, again, it is important that you speak up loud enough so that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury can hear you. All right, for the record, if you would please state your name, spelling your last.
John Anderson, Anderson.
Thank you.
May I approach briefly?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may inquire.
Thank you. Good morning. You have to answer out loud.
Good morning.
I like your hair.
Thank you. Matching a little bit.
A little bit.
Looking good.
How do you feel about being here this morning?
Of course, I'm nervous.
Nervous. Okay. You've been here since we started the trial.
Yes.
You're sitting with your family.
Yes, I am.
Who else is part of your family?
My dad and my mom.
Okay. And was Rachel part of your family?
Yes, she was my older sister.
Your older sister. How old are you, John?
I am 20 years old now.
So back when this happened, were you 18?
Yes, ma'am.
You said she's your older sister?
Yes.
How much older than you?
I believe 5 years.
How was that growing up?
It was all right, you know, typical older brother.
Annoying little brother?
Annoying little brother, yes. Yeah.
Did you guys eventually start to get along a little bit better?
Of course, as soon as we hit that certain age, I turned 18 and grew up a little bit.
Okay. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Warren, Ohio.
Rachel too?
Yes.
Your parents still live up that way?
Yes, they do.
Did you go to high school there?
Yes, I went to Warren G. Harding High School.
Is that also where Rachel went?
Yes.
Are you currently working or in school now?
Yes, I am working and in school.
What are you studying in school?
Criminal justice.
Is that a new thing that you're studying, or have you been studying that since you started college?
I've been studying that since I started college.
What do you want to do when you're done with college?
I'm undecided right now.
Okay. Will you tell me just a little bit about Rachel? What did she like to do?
She just going out, having a good time with friends. She loved hanging out with me, and she loved being home with our family and stuff. She didn't really have too many hobbies, but she was just more of a social being, you know. She loved her job. She loved working with families at the mortuary, at the funeral home, and that was her. She was just a lovely person.
Okay, and you mentioned that she worked at a funeral home, and we've heard that before. Do you have any idea how she got interested in that work?
I do not. I know she started out with nursing, but then she transferred into it.
Okay, and so in order to do that, she had to go to school someplace?
Yes.
Where did she go to school?
She started out at Youngstown State University, and then she transferred to CCMS, Cincinnati College for Mortuary Science, I believe.
Okay. And eventually she ended up moving to Columbus?
Yes.
When she moved to Columbus, that would have been maybe in the spring of 2017, around then. Does that sound right?
I believe, yes.
And where were you living then?
I was still at home in Warren.
Still at home in Warren. Eventually, were you still in high school when she moved here?
When she moved here, no, I started college.
So at some point then, did you have a chance to come and visit her?
Yes.
Now you visited, we've already heard that you visited her in January of 2018. Had you visited her at her Allegheny Avenue apartment before then?
I can't say, I don't remember.
So this could have been the very first time you visited her there?
Yes.
Why were you coming in to visit her?
It was her birthday weekend.
How did you get here?
I drove.
Did anybody come with you?
Nope.
Do you remember what day you got here? Not the date, but what day of the week?
I believe I got here Friday.
Oh, this is that same weekend we've been talking about, that Friday. What day was her birthday?
Her birthday was the 28th.
Was that Sunday?
Yes.
Okay, so you came in on Friday, then that would be the 26th.
Yes.
And you drove here, you said. Now, at Rachel's apartment, we'll see some pictures in a little bit, but did she have more than one bedroom?
Well, she had two, but the other one was like filled with her stuff because she was still like organizing.
Did it have a bed in it?
No.
So what in the world were you gonna sleep on?
I brought an air mattress with me. It's a blow-up mattress.
Okay. Didn't bother you? Didn't make you all achy like some of us older people might be?
It did. It did, of course.
Okay. All right, so you brought the air mattress. Where did you set it up?
I set it up in the living room.
So you came in on Friday. Did Rachel work that day?
Yes.
Did you guys do anything after she got off of work?
No, I believe she just had John and Tina come over with, I believe Ryan, and we just hung out there for the night, and I know they later left that night.
And when you say there, where are you talking about?
Her apartment.
And you mentioned John and Tina. Would that be John Kennedy that we saw yesterday?
Yes, John Kennedy.
Did you know them before you had come to visit that weekend?
I knew of them. I didn't know them. Personally, that was my first time meeting John in person. And then I also met Tina because I didn't know he was actually married, so.
Were you aware of who they were?
Yes.
Rachel's friends?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned somebody named Ryan?
Ryan Weber?
Did you know Ryan before you came to visit?
No.
What kinds of stuff did you guys do that Friday night at Rachel's?
Hung out at her apartment, watched Netflix and YouTube videos, smoked some weed, drank a little bit, and other than that, that was it.
Did Rachel smoke cigarettes?
Occasionally. She was more of a vapor than a cigarette smoker at that point.
And when you say vapor,
Like e-cigarettes, like vaping, stuff like that.
I think most of us know, but I just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay.
And then you mentioned, did you say where everybody went at the end of the night?
I don't know where they went. I believe they went back to their apartment, but me and Rachel stayed at her apartment. Like her key lanyard with her car keys and her other keys for the funeral home, I believe. She took it off that and handed it to me, and I put it on mine.
Okay. And then you mentioned her keys. You said something about a lanyard. Did she have something distinctive or, something you would recognize as, oh, those are Rachel's keys?
Yeah, I would be able to recognize them, but I don't know specifically what it would be. I can't, give you a good idea of what it is, but I know what it looks like.
Okay. You used the word lanyard.
Yes.
Do you mean one of those things that goes around your neck?
Yes.
Would she keep other keys? I think you mentioned besides her house key on that.
Yes. Her
What
car
other keys?
keys, and I believe she had keys to the funeral home.
When she went to work, how'd she get there?
She drove her car.
When you were there that weekend, did you notice where she would park?
Yes.
Where would she park?
She would park either right in front of her door at the apartment or one spot to the left of that.
So you're hanging out, waiting for Rachel to get home. You go and get something to eat, playing some Xbox, being 18.
Yeah.
Later on, we're going to hear about some evidence collected from Rachel's house and a bathrobe that has some of your DNA on it.
Okay.
Okay? Can you tell me how it got there?
I did my childly business in her bathroom because I wanted to be respectful about that. And I used that towel, bathrobe at the time, I thought it was a towel, to clean myself, and then after that, I went back upstairs to take a shower, and I reused that same bathrobe as a towel. So I don't really recall using it for anything else other than that.
Okay. How many bathrooms did Rachel have in her apartment?
One.
Now, so you had her key and you would come and go that day.
Yes.
At some point, did she come home?
Yes.
What did you guys do that night?
We got ready to go over to John and Tina's house, just spiffied up a little bit and went over there.
Spiffied up a little bit.
Yeah, we got ready for the night.
Put on some nice clothes.
Decent clothes.
Not a suit?
Mm-mm, no suits.
Okay. All right. Did you fix your hair?
Kind of, sort of. I mean, I wetted it.
All right. So you guys go, what were you going over to John and Tina's for?
They were having a birthday party for her.
Were you okay with heading over there?
Of course.
How'd you get over there?
We took her car.
And you say we, you mean you and Rachel?
Yes.
Did anyone else ride with you?
No.
Do you remember about how long it took to get over to John and Tina's?
About 25 to 30 minutes, I believe.
Are you very familiar with the Columbus area?
No.
That's just how long you remember. If I asked you what part of town it was on or anything, would you know the answer to that?
No.
Okay. Just that it took 25 or 30 minutes to get there?
Yes.
All right, so you guys showed up. Were there other people at John and Tina's when you got there?
No, it was just Ryan Weber, and then I believe 3 or 4 other people came later.
And who were those people? Do you know?
I believe one was Ryan's brother, and then the other 3 I did not know.
And were John and Tina there?
Yes.
What'd you guys do to celebrate Rachel's birthday?
We basically hung out in his little living room area and smoked some weed, drank like normal. Basically, after that, we got an Uber to a club. I don't know where the club was at or the name of it, but we went somewhere downtown, and then we were there for maybe an hour to 2, and then we actually came back to John and Tina's apartment, where I fell asleep.
Do you remember who all went out to the club?
I believe it was Tina, myself, and one other guy. I believe it was one of Ryan's friends or John's friends that came with us.
Was it a dance club?
It was a dance club. Like, it did have dancing. I can't really specifically clarify what club it was, but yes.
Did you dance?
Of course.
Did Rachel dance?
Yes.
Everybody else dance?
Yes.
Have a nice time?
Yep.
Okay, and then you mentioned you went back to the Kennedys, and did you say you fell asleep?
Yes.
Did you and Rachel stay there the whole night?
Yes.
In the morning, what did you guys do?
I woke up a little later than her. She was up first, and then basically they were just talking when I first had contact with them. And we just hung out for a little bit. They spoke with each other, and then we left.
Okay, and you said they. Who are you talking about?
John, Tina, and yeah, I believe that's all who was up at that time was John and Tina.
And Rachel?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember if anybody else was in the house then?
I do not recall anybody else being there.
And then you and Rachel headed home to her apartment?
Yes.
Once you got back to her apartment, did you stay for very long?
No, I did not. Enough time to pack up everything, so maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes I was there, and then we parted ways.
Where were you going after that?
I was headed back to Warren to my girlfriend's house.
So this would have been that Sunday
Yes.
of her actual birthday?
Yes.
Did you guys have a birthday cake for her at the party?
Yes, we did.
Did it have a funny saying on it? Or
Of course.
well, funny depending on how you view it?
Yes, it did.
What did it say?
Am I allowed to say it?
You are, I'm giving you permission.
It said, fuck bitches, get money.
Okay. All right. Was that something that you guys thought was funny? Like
Yeah.
a joke? It was a joke for Rachel.
Yeah, it was a running joke with them. I knew about the saying, but
Okay.
it was, yeah.
You're welcome for letting you swear on the record. You're welcome. All right, so you headed home to Warren. Did you talk to Rachel again after that?
I did not.
Do you remember if you gave her key back?
I did not give her key back.
The rest of that day, did you try to get in touch with Rachel?
I believe I either texted her or she texted me mentioning something about having the key, but other than that, she wasn't too worried about it because I knew about the other key that they had.
That who had?
John and Tina had.
Okay. When did you first learn that something was wrong?
Monday afternoon, well, morning, because my dad called, or one of my parents called me, said, "Have you talked to Rachel?" And then it was just a quick conversation. It was abrupt. And then later on, I got a call from my dad saying I need to get home. And then that's where I then later found out she was missing, and we were unaware of her location. And then as the day went on, we found out that she was dead.
During the period of time when people were trying to get in touch with her, did you try to get in touch with her?
Yes, I did.
Were you ever able to get in touch with her?
No, I was not.
Did you or your parents ever locate Rachel's keys, that lanyard that you told me about, in her belongings?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. If I could have one moment, please, Your Honor.
You may.
I think that's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Rauch. Cross-examination?
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
My name is Isabella Dixon, and I am one of the attorneys representing Mr. Pardon. And I'm sure this is difficult. I know you're nervous. If I ask a question that you don't understand, just please stop me and I'll clarify it for you, okay?
Okay.
There's no trick questions. I'm not trying to fool you or anything, okay?
Okay.
All right. So, taking you back to when this happened, do you recall giving an interview with a detective, a Columbus police detective, by phone?
Yes.
Okay. And so most of what I'm going to ask you is going to revolve around that conversation that you had with that detective.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, do you recall in that telephone conversation that you strongly suspected Jonathan Kennedy?
I didn't strongly suspect him, but I did give out John Kennedy's name at that time.
Okay. And why did you give out John Kennedy's name as a suspect?
I believe John was like the only one that knew her down there, and that was my first guess.
Okay, well, there were some other things, weren't there?
Not that I can recall, no.
Okay. What about the fact that, didn't you tell the detective that there had been a huge falling out between Jonathan and Tina Kennedy with your sister drug-wise?
No, that isn't exactly what I meant. It was more of, I know they had a drug thing together, the LSD trip, but other than that, no, there was no significant falling out or anything like that.
Do you recall telling the detective that there was a significant falling out?
No.
Okay, if I were to play the interview with the detective for you, would that refresh your memory as to what you told the detective?
No, I do have a good recollection of what I told that detective.
Okay, listen to my question. If I were to play the interview that you had with the detective, would that refresh your memory as to what you told the detective on that day?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take about a 20-minute break. So I need you back in the jury room, let's say at 10:10. Again, remember the admonitions that I've given you with respect to discussing this case among yourselves or with anyone else. All rise for the jury. You may be seated, everyone. If it's on the laptop and you would prefer using my conference room so you can relax and not have everyone staring at him, we can do that.
Yes, would that be all right?
All right. Okay, so we're going to take about 20 minutes, everyone. Mr. Kennedy, excuse Mr. Anderson.
Is it all right?
All rise for the jury. All right, may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we will continue with cross-examination of Mr. Anderson. You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so, Mr. Anderson, having reviewed your interview with Detective Walsh, that has refreshed your memory as to what you told the detective on that day?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that you indicated with respect to your sister was that she was your everything, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
And that's true, isn't it?
Yes.
And that was not a secret, was it? To
No.
her friends, to your friends, people knew how tight you were?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, so tight that when asked about your password, you told the detective that it was probably, you gave him several things, maybe the year of your birth, the date of your birth, but that those numbers would be likely her password.
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated that you did, in fact, to the Detective Welsh, that you did, in fact, suspect Jonathan Kennedy, didn't you?
Yes.
And there was a reason you suspected Jonathan Kennedy, wasn't it?
Yes.
And that reason was because of a conversation that you and your sister had about 2 weeks prior to the birthday party?
I believe 2 weeks, yes.
And during that conversation with your sister, she had indicated to you that she was afraid of John Kennedy, didn't she?
Yes.
And she was afraid because of several things. The falling out that they had, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, isn't it true that you were surprised, you indicated to the Detective Welsh that you were surprised that they were even throwing her a birthday party?
I wasn't really surprised, but I was surprised that was all happening that weekend.
Okay.
Like, surprised at the fact it was happening.
Because of the prior conversation you had with your sister and things that John Kennedy had done and said?
Yes.
Okay. In fact, you indicated that according to your sister, he had sexual vibes for her.
Yeah, as in he does have a thing for her. He does think she is an attractive woman.
Okay. And he was very graphical and called her names, and one of the names, he called her a virus.
Yes, but that's what she told me.
Okay. And I think you indicated that there was something about someone had tripped on, was it acid or?
Yes,
Some drug.
LSD, yes.
And some things happened during that trip, right?
I believe, yes.
And what is it, your understanding, that happened during that trip that they had taken? Or who had taken the acid trip?
I believe it was my sister, John, and Tina.
Okay, and what had happened according to what you were told?
From,
Yeah, sustained, rephrase.
Okay. Based on information that you received, that's when sexual vibes happen, correct?
Objection.
No, overruled.
That's when sexual vibes happen, right?
I believe.
Okay. And so much so that it caused your sister fear and discomfort.
To an extent, yes.
Okay. And so much so that there was a level of discomfort being around him, with your sister being around Jonathan Kennedy, correct?
Yes, she was worried about the fact of, like, him trying to, maybe break up with his girlfriend and, pursue her.
Okay. And you also talked about, in terms of Jonathan Kennedy being a suspect, you said he found the body, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you, in fact, indicated to the detective, well, how did he get in, right?
Yes, I did ask him.
Because you knew he had a key, didn't you?
I knew he had a key, yes.
Okay. And you believed the only key was your sister's and the key that he had, right?
Yes.
Okay. And tell us, what kind of car did you drive back then?
I drove a gray Chrysler 200, and I had the wheels spray painted red.
Okay. And you drove that car down that weekend?
Yes.
Of the 29th? And did you drive, when you guys left on Saturday to go to the party at Jonathan and Tina Kennedy's house, did you drive or did Rachel drive?
Rachel drove.
Okay, so you left your car parked at her house?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got back to your house, to Rachel's house, I'm sorry, after I think it would have been Sunday morning?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall opening the door?
At Rachel's apartment? Yes.
Okay. And what time did you leave your sister's house?
I believe 1 o'clock.
Okay. And what time did you get back to, were you going back to Warren or Youngstown?
I was going back to Warren.
Okay. And if I can approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I have what's been marked as State's Exhibit A-165. Do you recognize that?
The birthday cake?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And is that the cake that you were referring to that says, "Let bitches get money"?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that that was something funny, a joke that had something to do with your sister?
Yeah, it's because she was single looking for a significant other and she was making hella money. That was the explanation she gave me.
Say that again. You said that really fast.
She said she was looking for a significant other and she was making money.
Your sister was making money?
Yes,
And
to an
looking
extent, yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, and I'd also like to approach, again, Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
With State Exhibit A-10.
Yes, you may. Just make sure that the light is on.
On the bottom on the left.
Amy, is your pointer up there?
Yep.
I need him.
And you said this is A10?
A-10, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Anderson, do you see a digital scale in that picture?
I believe that's the lid of it, or that's it right there.
Okay. And tell the members of the jury what that's for.
For when she was buying her marijuana from, I don't know specifically who. I know that she did tell me she did get it off somebody at OU at one point, but that was for weighing it up and seeing how much she had left or how much she was using so she could ballpark when she would need to get more.
Okay. And so do you know where that digital scale came from?
I believe she said she got it from John Kennedy.
Thank you. May I take one moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Just one question, and it's really going to be one question from me. Did you guys take any pictures at the birthday party?
We didn't take any pictures, but I know there was one video that Tina actually sent to me like after everything has happened. It was just a video showing I believe it was started off with Rachel, then me, and then it panned over to John, and I think that's all who she got in the party.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. John, what is your birthday?
6/2/1999, June 2nd.
Okay. Let's talk about John Kennedy. To be clear, the incident, the LSD trip, was what was your understanding of how long that went on?
I don't know how long it went on, but I'm not completely sure.
Are we talking about a day, or are we talking about weeks and weeks and weeks?
Oh, it only went on for at least a day.
Okay. And the names that Jonathan had called her, was that while he was tripping?
I recall, yes, he was tripping at the time he did save.
Objection.
Okay, yes. Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. All right. The objection, no, withdraw the previous question and please restate.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm actually going to back up one question. Did the LSD incident happen one time, more than one time, or something else?
One time.
And while they were using LSD, is that when the name calling and the sexual vibes happened?
Yes.
Had Rachel complained about it before that?
No.
And you mentioned when Miss Dixon was questioning you that you talked to her about 2 weeks before the party, or before you came in to visit,
Yes.
and it did not come up again after that?
No.
Okay. And how was she acting around John and Tina at the party?
Like nothing ever happened, to be honest.
And had they come to her home on Friday?
Yes.
And how was she acting towards them at that time?
Normally, like friendly. Everything was fine. I didn't realize it at the time. I basically forgot that happened.
During that conversation with Rachel, did you get any indication that John Kennedy had touched her or assaulted her in any way?
No.
When you were talking to Detective Welsh, you did talk about Jonathan and say, check him out, right?
Yes.
Was he the only person you said to check out?
No, I mentioned her one ex-boyfriend and another man in the complex that I know she complained about.
What were you trying to do by giving the detective all this information?
Ideas,
Did you want to help him?
of course.
If I could have one moment, Your Honor.
You may.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Recross.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Anderson, with all this normalcy between your sister and the Kennedys, when you spoke with Detective Welsh shortly after your sister's death, Jonathan Kennedy still was the number one person that you mentioned, the first person that you mentioned as a suspect, wasn't he?
Yes.
And so in your dialogue with Detective Welsh, you never said to him, hey, I might be overreaching, I might be overstepping, did you, in terms of pointing the finger at Jonathan Kennedy?
No.
In fact, you indicated to him that your father had the same suspicion, didn't you?
Objection.
Yeah. Sustained.
You indicated to him that others shared in your suspicions, didn't you, of Jonathan
Objection.
Kennedy?
All right, please approach again. Excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. The objection is sustained.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
No. Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Okay, you can step down. Okay, you're not to discuss your testimony with anyone while this case is still pending.
Yes, sir.